Wings of Fire, The Dragonet Prophecy. Chapter 2. Clay swept a bunch of dinner into the water with his tail. The stripped white shapes bounced away in the current. Fires flickered around the edge of the great central cave. Echoing space yawned overhead, dripping with stalactites like huge teeth. The cave dome was big enough for 6 full-grown dragons to fit across with their wings extended. The underground river flowed along one wall, muttering and gurgling as if it were plotting its own escape. Clay glanced at the 2 small sleeping caves that opened onto the hall, currently empty, and wondered where the other dragonets had gone while he was cleaning up. "Aha!" yelled the voice behind him. Clay threw his wings over his head. "What did I do?" he yelped. "I'm sorry, it was an accident, or if it's that extra cow. Dune said I can have her because Webs will be out late, and I'm sorry and I can sleep dinner tomorrow." A small snout poked his back with his wings. "Calm down, silly," Sunny said. "I wasn't aha-ing at you." "Oh." Clay smoothed his crest and twisted around to look at her, the smallest and last hatched of the dragonets. A pale lizard was disappearing into her mouth. She was grinning at him. "That was my fierce hunting cry," she said. "Did you like it? Wasn't it scary?" "Well, it was certainly surprising," he said. "Lizards again? What's wrong with cows?" "But too heavy," she said. "You look all serious." "Just thinking." He was glad that Kestrel and Dune couldn't read minds like Nightwing dragons. He hadn't been able to stop thinking of the idea of escape all through dinner. Clay lifted one of his wings and Sunny nestled them close to him. He could feel the warmth of her golden scales radiating along his side. Sunny was too small and the wrong color, tawny gold instead of sand pale, and like most sandwings. But she gave off heat like the rest of the tribe. "Doom says we should study for an hour before bed," she said. "The others are in the study cave already." Dune, the main dragon who taught them survival skills, was a sandwing, and so was Sunny, more or less. There was something quite not right about this littlest dragonet. There were not only her scales were too golden, but her eyes were grey-green instead of glittering black. Worst of all, her tail curved into an ordinary point like the tail of most dragons. Instead of ending in a poisonous barb that was a sandwing's most dangerous weapon. As Kestrel often said, Sunny was completely harmless, and what good was a harmless dragon? But her egg fit the instructions of a prophecy, so she was the wings of sand, whether the talents of peace liked it or not. Of course, there was no rings of rain in the prophecy at all. The dragonets had all heard, many times over, about how Glory had been the last-minute substitute for the broken Skyring egg. Kestrel and Dune called her a mistake and growled at her a lot. Nobody knew whether the prophecies could still happen with the Rainwing instead of a Skywing, but from what Clay knew of Skywings, he was very glad that they had Glory instead of another grumpy fire-breathing Kestrel under the mountains. Besides, if anyone was likely to mess up the prophecy, it was him, not Glory or Sunny. "Come on," Sunny said, flicking him with her tail. He followed her across the central cave. Twisting stone tunnels led off into 4 directions, one to the battle arena, one to the Guardian's cave, one to the study room, and one to the outside world. The last one was blocked with a boulder too heavy for any dragonet to move. Clay stopped and pushed against the rock with his shoulder as he went by. He often tried to open it when the big dragons were not around. Someday it would move when he did that, maybe not a lot, but a tiny shift would let him know that he was finally getting to full grown. He felt big. He was suddenly bumping into things by accidentally and knocking stuff over with his tail or his wings. Not today, he thought ruefully when the boulder didn't budge. Maybe tomorrow. He followed Sunny down the tunnel to the study room. Then his enormous feet and thick claws thumped and scraped along the stone floor. Even though he lived under the mountains for his whole life, it still hurt to walk on bare rock. He was constantly scrubbing his talons, and they always ached by the end of the day. Tsunami was stunting around the study room cave, barking orders. Sunny and Clay sat down by the entrance, folding their wings back, and a breath of air drifted down to the hall from the roof, far overhead, the only window to the outside in any of the caves. That night, without the distant hints of sunlight, the room felt colder and more hollow. Clay and the others slid. Clay stretched up and sniffed at the darkness that had fallen on the other side of the coal. He thought it smelled like stars. A map of Pyria hung between the torches. Tsunami and Starfire loved to study the map, trying to figure out where the hidden cave was. Starfire was pretty sure that they were under the Starfire was pretty sure that they were somewhere under the claws of the Clouds Mountains. Skylings preferred to live high among the peaks, so anything could happen to in the deep caves below without being noticed. All this history is so confusing, Sunny muttered to Clay, swishing her tail back and forth. Why don't the 3 sides just sit down and talk out and end the war? That would be great, Clay said. Then we could stop studying it. Sunny giggled. Stop that, Tsunami said bossily, stamping her feet at them. No whispering, pay attention, I'm signing parts. This is not proper studying, Starfire pointed out. His black nightwing scales made him nearly invisible in the dark shadows between the torches. She swept a dark shadow between his. He swept a few scrolls in his talons and neatly sorted them out into stacked triangles. Perhaps I should read to everyone instead. Dear moons, anything but that, Glory said from the ledge above him. Maybe later, when we are trying to fall asleep. Her long, delicate snout glowed emerald green with displeasure, resting on her front claws. Ripples of iridescent blue shimmered along her scales, and tonight her tail was a swirl of vibrant purple. If it weren't for Glory, Clay thought, none of them would know how many colors there were in the world. They weren't. He wondered what it would be like in the rainforest where the whole tribe of dragons were that beautiful. Shh, Snowy scolded. Now, obviously, I'll be the best queen, But Sunny can be the queen. Let's make Sunny the queen because she's a real sandwing. She bustled over to push Sunny into the center of the cave. Well, sort of. Glory muttered under her breath. Hist! Starflight flicked her with his tail. None of the dragonettes ever talked about why Sunny was the Sunny. None of the dragonettes ever talked about why Sunny didn't look like a regular sandwing. Clay guessed her egg might have been taken from the sand too early. Maybe sandwing eggs needed the sun in the desert sand to keep warm until hatching, or else they'll come out half-baked and funny-looking. Although personally, he thought Sunny looked just fine. Tsunami tapped her talons on the cave floor, studying her friends. Clay, do you want to play the scavenger? That's hardly fair, Starflight pointed out. He's twice Sunny's size. The real scavenger would be smaller than her, according to the squirrel over here. It says scavengers had no scales, no wings, no tail, and they walk on two legs, which sounds very unstable to me. I bet they fall over all the time, and they like treasures nearly as much as dragons do. The scroll says scavenger attack lone dragons and steal. Oh my gosh, we know! Glory snapped. We were all here about a fantasizing lecture about them. Don't make me come down there and bat you, Starflight. I'd like to meet a real scavenger, Clay said. I rip off his head and eat it. He pounded to his front talons. He pounded his front talons on the stone below him. I bet it will taste better than a mouthful of feathers Kestrels keep bringing us. Poor hungry Clay, Sunny teased. When we're free, we'll go find the scavenger's nest and eat all of them. Tsunami promised, nudging Clay with one wing. Sunny blinked at her. When we're free? Whoops. Tsunami and Clay exchanged glances. Sunny was sweet and trusting, but absolutely terrible at keeping secrets. I mean, after we fulfill the prophecy, of course, Tsunami said. Clay, be the scavenger. Here, this can be your claw. She swung her long tail in an arc and smashed the stalactite loose. Shards of rock flew across the caves and the other dragon's neck ducked. Clay hefted the sharp rock spear in his claws and grinned wickedly at Sunny. Don't actually hurt me, she said nervously. Oh, won't he? Of course he won't, Tsunami said. We're just acting it out. And the rest of us will be the princesses. I'll be Byron, the strong one, obviously. Glory can be Blister, and Starflight will be Blaze. I had to be a princess last time too, Starflight observes. I'm not sure I like this game. He stretched his wings and the scattered silver scales underneath glittered like stars in the night sky. This is not a game. It's called history, Tsunami said. And if we had any other friend, we would play it differently. But there are 3 Sandwing princesses, so you have to be one. So stop complaining. Starflight shrugged and sailed back into the shadows, the way he always did when he couldn't win a fight. Alright, go ahead, Tsunami said, hopping onto the ledge next to Glory. Sunny said, eyeing Clary warily. Right, here I go. La la la, Queen Oasis of the Sandwings. I'm so very important and, royal and stuff. Tsunami sighed. Glory and Sapphire hid their smiles. I've been queen for ages and ages, Sunny went on. She stunted across the cave floor. No one dares challenge me for my throne. I'm the strongest Sandwing queen who ever lived. Don't forget the treasures, Tsunami hissed, pointing at the pile of loose rocks. Oh, right, Sunny said. It's probably because of all my treasure. I have so much treasure because I'm such an important queen. She swept the rocks towards her and gathered them between her talons. Did somebody say treasure? Clay bellowed, leaping at it from the large rock formation. Sunny yelped with fright. No, Tsunami called. You're not scared. You're Queen Oasis, the big bad queen of the stressed sand dragons. Right, Sunny said. Roar! What is this tiny scavenger doing in the kingdom of sand? I'm not afraid of any tiny scavengers. I should go out and eat him in one bite. Glory started giggling so hard that she had to lie down and cover her face with her wings. Even Tsunami had to make a face like she wasn't trying to laugh. Clang swung the stalagmite in a circle. Squeak, 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 he shouted, and other annoying scavenger noises. I'm here to steal the treasure from away from a magnificent dragons. Not from me, you won't, Sunny said, blistering. She stamped forward, spread her wings, and raised her tail threateningly. Without the poisonous barbs on other sandwings, Sunny's tail was not very menacing, but nobody pointed that out. Arr! Clay shouted, lunging forward with the rock claw. Sunny darted out of her way, and they circled each other, fainting and jabbing. This was Clay's favorite part, when Sunny forgot to act queenly and focus on the battle. She was fun to fight. Her small size made it easy for her to dodge and slip under his defenses. But in the end, Queen Oasis had to lose, and that's how the story went. Clay drove Sunny back against the wall of the caves and thrusted a fake claw between her neck and her wing, pretending that it went right through her heart. Oh, Sunny yelled. Impossible! A queen defeated by a lonely scavenger. The kingdom will fall apart. Oh, my treasure, my lovely treasure. She collapsed onto the ground and let her wings float lifelessly on either side of her. Ha ha ha, Clay said, and squeak squeak. The treasure is all mine. He scooped at the rock pile and put it away, lashing his tail proudly. Our turn, Tsunami said, jumping off the ledge. She hurried to Sunny, clapping her talons together. She let out a cry. Oh no, our mother is dead and the treasure is gone. But worst of all, none of us killed her. So, who shall be queen now? I was about to challenge her, Glory said. She flapped her wings dramatically. I would have fought her to the death for the throne. I should be queen. No, I should be queen, Tsunami insisted. I'm the eldest and the biggest and would have challenged her first. They both turned to look at Sapphire, hidden among the shadows. The black dragon looked as if he was trying to become even more invisible. Come on, Starflight, Tsunami said. Don't be a lazy... She caught herself before saying Rainwing. The teachers said things like that all the time. If you don't study, you're no better than a Rainwing. What's the matter? Someone replaced your brain with a Rainwing's? Still sleeping? Anyone would think you were a Rainwing. The last one was mostly for Clay. But the dragoness all knew Glory hated it, and no matter how much she pretended she didn't care. It also seemed really unfair. Glory was the only reigning any of them had ever met, and she studied and trained harder than anyone else. Dragon. Tsunami finished the sentence awkwardly with a quick glance at Glory. Starflight, come out here. The Nightwing shuffled forward, looking down at Sunny. She had her eyes scrunched shut. Oh dear, he said. Well, now I should be queen. As I'm the youngest princess, I have the longest range. That would be good for the Sandwings. Also, he paused, giving a long, suffering sigh. Also, I'm by far the prettiest. Sunny giggled, and Tsunami poked her to keep still. Clay swept the treasure rock pile and sat on them. I should kill you both right now, Glory snarled. You and what army? Tsunami taunted her. Glory stretched her neck and bared her teeth. That's a good idea. I'll go get an army of Rainwings and Seawings. And then you'll be sorry. You're not the only one who can make alliance, Tsunami said. I'll get the Skywings on my side, and the Mudwings. Then we'll see who wins this war. There are pause. Both looked at Starfire again. Yeah, he said. You do that. I'll ally myself with Icewing Army. Also, by the way, most of the Sandwing want me to be their queen. They do? Sunny said, opening her eyes. Who says? Stop talking, Tsunami said, poking her with his front talon. You're dead. There are lots of recent scrolls about it, Starfire says. Starfire explained pompously. Blaze is very popular with her own tribe. So why can't she be queen? Sunny asked. If that's what they want. Because Burn is bigger and scarier and crush her like a bug if they actually fought claw to claw, Glory chimed in. And Blister, that's me, is smarter than both of them put together. She knows she couldn't kill Burn in a regular drill. It was her idea to involve the other tribe and send the Sandwing throne battle into a world war. It probably wanted for the other two to kill each other. Which one do we want to be queen? Sunny asked. We get to pick, right? When we fulfill the prophecy. None of them. Starflight said gloomily. Blaze is about as smart as a conquered sheep. Blister is most likely plotting to become queen of all the tribes somehow, and if Burn wins, she'll probably keep the war going just for fun. They're all pretty nasty. I guess we'll have to see what the Talons of Peace decides. The Talons of Peace don't get to decide, Tsunami said, bristling. They only think they're in charge of us. We can still hear them out, Starflight argued. What was best for the Pyrian? Easy for you to say, Glory snapped, wrapping around her neck flowing orange. You weren't stolen from your home. The Nightwings are pretty eager to hand over your egg, weren't they? Starflight flinched as if she burned him. Boring! Clay shouted from the pile of rocks. Stop fighting with each other. Come here and fight me for the treasure instead. No one knows what the scavenger did to the sand dragon treasure. Starflight said in his top of the class voice, turning away from Glory. Among other things, they stole the Electro Dragon, the gold Sandwing sculpture, and the Eye of Onyx, which had been in the Sandwing treasury for hundreds of years. Then Clay stamped his feet. Starflight's lecture always made her scales itch. I just want to fight somebody, he said. Somebody who wasn't trying to beat him into a violent rage, probably. As if the thought had summoned her, Kestrel was suddenly loomed over the entrance of the cave. What is going on here? Kestrel booming voice made all 5 dragonettes spring into attention. Sunny slipped as she tried to scramble on to her feet, and Starflight jumped out to catch her. The enormous red Skywing slithered into the cave, glaring at them. This doesn't look like studying, she hissed. We are so sorry, Sunny stammered. No, we're not, Tsunami said. Tsunami shot at the Sandwing a glare. We were studying. We were acting out the deaths of the Queen and start of the whole war. You mean play acting, Kestrel growled. You're too old for games. When were we ever young for games? It wasn't a game, Tsunami said. It was a different way of learning the history. What's wrong with that? And now you're talking back, Kestrel said, looking as she looked smug, as she always did when Tsunami got into trouble. That means no sleeping in the river tonight. Tsunami scowled. Kestrel tapped the pile of rocks in the entrance with one claw. The rest of you, learn from the Seawing's mistake and study the correct way. That's not fair, Clay spoke up as Kestrel turned to go, even though it made her heart pound. We were all doing the same thing. We should be all punished. Glory shook his head at him, but beside him, Sunny nodded. Kestrel stared down at him. I know who the ringleader was. Cut off the head, and the problem goes away. You were going to cut off Tsunami's head? Sunny squeaked. Glory sighed. It's a metaphor, Featherbrain. Now go to bed, Kestrel said. She turned and swept out of the cave, knocking over Starflight's knee-stacked scrolls as she went. Clay nudged Tsunami's dark blue shoulder with his snout. Sorry, we tried. I know, thanks, Tsunami said, brushing her wings against his. Hey, Sunny, would you mind taking those back to our sleeping caves? The small gold dragon brightened. Sure, I can do that. She hurried to the entrance, gathered up the scattered scrolls in her front talons, and whisked out of the caves. I can't stand this much longer, Tsunami said, as soon as Sunny was gone. We have to get out of here, and soon. Clay glanced at Glory and Starflight, who didn't look surprised. You talked to them about it? Of course, Tsunami said. I needed their help figuring out an escape plan. Clay couldn't help but notice that she hadn't asked him for any escape plan ideas. Even the dragons who liked him thought he was pretty useless. I'm not sure we're ready, Starflight said, wrinkling his forehead. There's so much we haven't learnt yet. Well, that's what the teachers want us to think. Tsunami's blue scales shifted around as she shook herself from head to tail. But we'll never know until we get out of these horrible caves and see the world for ourselves. What about the prophecy? Clay asked. Shouldn't we wait 2 more years? I don't see why, Glory said. I'm a Tsunami. Destiny is destiny, right? So whatever we do must be the right thing. We don't need a bunch of ancient dragons telling us how to save the world. They are not in the prophecy. But when do we tell Sunny? Starflight asked, glancing at the cave's dark opening. Not until the last minute, Tsunami said fiercely. You know she can't keep secrets. Starflight, promise you won't say anything to her. I won't, she said. She's not going to like it, though. She thinks everything is great here. Of course she does. She doesn't care that we get treated like cracked eggs, even though we're supposed to be the key to peace or whatever. She cares, Starflight said defensively. She just doesn't whine about it. Yuck, said Glory. Tsunami roared to glare at Starflight, her gills flaring. Say that to my face. I'm saying it to your face, he said. Or was I saying it to your rear end? It's easy to get the two confused. He ducked his below behind Claire before Tsunami could even bare his teeth at her. Hey, stop! Quit snarling at each other like mini kestrels, Clay said, standing to keep the bunk between the two dragons. Nobody's happy here. Sunny deals with it differently, that's all. But remember what we decided. We 5 stick together, or else everything goes worse. Right? Starflight hunched his wings forward, muttering. Clay's right, Glory said. The last thing we want is to be like Kestrel or Whips of Dune. Tsunami hissed for a moment, then shook herself. All right, I know. I'm trying. But this post is slowly killing me, she said. Clay shivered at the fierce look on her face. He would not want to be the dragon standing in her way. As soon as we got a plan, we go, Tsunami said, looking them each in their eye. Let's see them force our destiny on us when they can't find us anymore.